Muammar Gaddafi slams Western countries as they weigh the option of a no-fly zone over Libya and dismisses Libya's rebels as traitors. But as Gaddafi becomes increasingly isolated, what are his options? And as the standoff continues, would an international military intervention be the right solution? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Rida Fakhri. Calls are mounting for the imposition of a no-fly zone over Libya, but with no single nation willing to take the lead, what options lie ahead for Libya's future? Zainab Walji has more.
They say it's from the sky that they are most vulnerable, and for Libyan rebels, UN resolutions and asset freezes are not enough. They are increasing their demand on the international community to establish a no-fly zone over Libya, a move supported by the British government, though with caution.
Work is going on in NATO on the contingency planning for this, so it is certainly a practical possibility. It has to have, though, the other factors that I was mentioning earlier. It has to have a clear legal base. It has to have the necessary international support, broad support in the region itself. Now, clearly, there are elements of those things there. In terms of, as I mentioned earlier, the statement of the GCC, and clearly the opposition forces in Libya itself have already called for a no-fly zone. So those things are practical, but the broad international support and legal base for it would also have to be there.
The White House, too, has made it clear they are considering their next move.
We've got NATO, as we speak, consulting in Brussels around a wide range of potential options, including potential military options, in response to the violence that continues to take place inside of Libya.
But this move would require military intervention, making it much easier to talk about than actually implement. And there is by no means unanimity among the UN Security Council, with both Russia and China insisting that Libyans must solve their own problems. So with Libya on the brink of civil war, what options lie ahead? For one thing, the recognition of the National Council, formed by rebel leaders, as a legitimate alternative ruling body in Libya would weaken Gaddafi's regime. France and the EU have already endorsed the National Council, and two members have met with French Foreign Minister Alain Juppé in Paris on Wednesday, and the EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton is also planning to meet them. But the European Parliament is split over what measures the EU should take to help the Libyan opposition, with rebel leaders calling for military assistance without direct military involvement. A solution to Libya's current crisis still seems a long way off. All the while, Muammar Gaddafi's forces will continue to try to take back areas now under rebel control, and the numbers of casualties will undoubtedly escalate. Zainab Walji, Inside Story.
Well, for more on all this, we're joined now by our three guests. From Texas, Mansour el-Kikhia, the chairman of the Political Science Department of the University of Texas at San Antonio. From Washington, D.C., Henry Schuler, a former American diplomat who served in Benghazi in the early 1960s. Schuler was one of the few Americans to meet Gaddafi after the coup in 1970. And joining us here from Doha, Libyan political analyst Ibrahim Jibril. Welcome to you all to this edition of Inside Story. Ibrahim Jibril, as much of the world continues to debate what to do with the situation in Libya, the idea of a no-fly zone is gaining increasing traction, at least in some capitals. Do you see it as being in the long-term interest of Libya to have what will most likely be, in the end, a Western US-led military intervention?
Well, under the umbrella of the United Nations, and this is what we have been talking about all along, we have been clear that we are not asking for any one unilateral move from any Western country to impose a no-fly zone or to get engaged in the political and the revolution that's taken place in Libya. But we have said all along that under the umbrella of the United Nations and the Security Council, that a no-fly zone should be imposed. We think that this is relevant and this is critically important to at least diminish, if not stop altogether, the onslaught that is going on now by Gaddafi and his regime.
But whether it is imposed with, perhaps under the guise of a Security Council resolution or not, it does amount, doesn't it, to an act of war. This kind of military escalation of the conflict. Do you see it as being in the long-term interest of Libya, or would it simply play into the hands of Colonel Gaddafi, giving him some kind of justification for retaliation?
I honestly don't see an escalation beyond what today is from the air and the sea and the ground. People are getting bombarded and they are getting shot at. Bombs are getting dropped. Missiles are getting fired at them. I don't see any further escalation. What would it be? How much worse can it get for the man on the street or the woman or the child in Zawiya today? How much worse can it get? What happens is that what would happen is that Gaddafi will not be able to fly his planes over Zawiya or Ras Lanuf or anywhere else, or Benghazi for that matter, or Tripoli. And that means also on the ground, maybe, just maybe, that the people of Libya can at least face Gaddafi and his troops eye to eye and man to man, as they say, rather than to have this unequal confrontation that we are just witnessing.
Mansour el-Kikhia, how effective do you think a no-fly zone will be? It will require the military attack of Libya's air defense systems, but beyond that, will it protect the civilians in Libya? Will it force President or leader Muammar Gaddafi to leave power, do you think?
Well, let me tell you one thing. I want to take a different track from what Ali said. It's a little bit different. First of all, I do think that the international community needs to assume responsibility and remove this madman. He has not only hurt Libya, he has hurt the world. And it's about time that the world stood up for something and said, hey, you cannot do this anymore. Can you imagine if this guy had nuclear weapons, what he would have done? I mean, it isn't only Libyans right now. Libyans are asking for a small thing. The new no-fly zone is basically irrelevant, if you can say. But I think it is a war. It is a declaration of war against Gaddafi. The world should at least the civilized society, should make a stand vis-a-vis this man. Should they make a stand vis-a-vis such regimes and say, you cannot do this to your people, you cannot do this to anyone. And if it needs a no-fly zone, impose a no-fly zone. If it needs supplying the people with weapons, supply them with weapons.
But doesn't this
what
complicate perhaps the situation?
There has to be a very clear
imposition of this no-fly zone by Western powers and others, does it not risk undermining the nationalist domestic nature of this uprising?
I don't think it will. I think for those people who are dying down there, they don't really care where that help is coming from, and for most Libyans as well. Libyans want to see the end of this man. And the imposition of no-fly zone will not make a slightest bit of difference to somebody who's having a son or a daughter killed.
Henry Schuler, you met Muammar Gaddafi. You sat down with him for a couple of hours back in the 1980s. He's made it quite clear time and again that he has no official position to step down from. And he's also said that he will fight in Libya until the last bit of blood. Do you have any doubt that he will do just that? Do you think that there is truth to the fact that he may cut a deal with the opposition and flee the country?
That's up to the opposition to decide, not to the United States or Britain or the rest of the world community. If they want to let him flee the country rather than bring him to justice, that's up to them. But I think that he will not, he hasn't many options to get abroad, only if he cuts a deal through Musa Kusa. And that's the last possible thing that the Libyan people, the Libyan Democrats want to happen. So I think that there are a great many things that we can be doing short of a no-fly zone. While the debate is going on over the no-fly zone, we should certainly recognize the regime that has been established in Benghazi. We should send a high-level emissary to Benghazi to meet with those people, to establish the kinds of communications that are required to establish sharing of intelligence that we are collecting on Gaddafi's troop movements. They should be shared with the Libyan people. We should arrange to disrupt the command and control system of the Gaddafi command. We should disrupt their propaganda broadcasts. We should make sure that the people in Benghazi have secure communications equipment. We should take measures to restore the internet and cell phone, all of which can be done. All of that can be done from well offshore and without having boots on the ground or even planes in the sky. That is going to be a long debate in this country. as to whether that's the appropriate and necessary course to pursue. But we've got a great deal more in terms of humanitarian aid that we can send in by a ship now to Benghazi, and this should be pursued first in my judgment. And I think a very critical component is that Musa Kusa, who is conspicuously absent from the no travel restrictions and from the asset freeze, should be quickly added to that so that it becomes clear to the Gaddafi forces and to his opponents that the United States and Britain are not trying to cut a deal, another lousy deal with Musa Kusa.
Ibrahim Jibril, we know that the Gulf countries have supported the idea of a no-fly zone. The Arab League will be meeting in a session on Saturday. We know that NATO members, defense ministers, will be also meeting and weighing this option over the next couple of days. How important is it for Arab Muslim countries to put some cover on this, to take the lead, to not give the appearance that this is Western-led?
I honestly don't think it makes any difference. At the end of the day, it isn't going to be the Arab countries that will impose it, even though they may participate in it. Secondly, this is also coming very late in the game. We need to move fast, and I cannot overemphasize that. And as Mr. Schuller indicated, there are a lot of things that can be done and are not being done on the ground today. So this is not a either no-fly zone or nothing. There are a lot of things, a lot of steps, a lot of measures that can take place and can be done today. They don't all involve military action, and they need to be done now. The Arabs have had now 3 weeks to chew on this, to contemplate it, and to do something. Thus far, up until this point, the only thing that has come out of the Arab League is a suspension of the membership of Libya in that. Even that is to be discussed in May when they meet. So thus far, it's been no action and a lot of talk. And if they take the lead on the no-fly zone, meaning pushing it through the Security Council and getting it done fast, then that would be very good. Otherwise, it is not going to make a bit of a difference.
Obviously, there are some on the Security Council, Russia, perhaps China as well, who have serious reservations about the notion of foreign military intervention. Henry Schuller, there were in the last few hours sustained air bombardments of oil installations. In the last few days, there were also sustained aerial bombardments of what appeared to be rebel-held military depots. Did you see enough solid evidence to suggest that there has also been a deliberate attempt to bomb civilian targets on the ground?
Well, I have not seen the first-hand footage of that, but it's clear to me that Gaddafi wants to make it clear to Europe in an effort to terrify them that the oil installations from which they receive their oil are hostage to him. And that's why it's so important that the insurgents have been able to keep control of them in most of the time in recent days. But the largest export of Libyan oil comes from the Sarir field, which is way over near Tobruk and comes out through the Tobruk terminal, and there's no air attack that far away from Tripoli. So the oil will continue to flow, and the money will continue to flow into the coffers of the insurgents and the government in Benghazi, and I hope that they are able to use that to buy the arms that they need to protect themselves and to move on to Tripoli. I think that's a very promising prospect.
Mansour el-Kikhia, what do you see as the most potent at this stage and possible scenarios for Muammar Gaddafi? Is he weighing his options? Does he feel this is the end for him and time to make a deal with whomever he can and try to save his skin and that of those around him?
I don't think so. I think he feels he's winning. And then just latest movements, he has moved forces away from Misrata to fortify those in Sirt, feeling confident that he has gotten Misrata under control, that he can actually defeat the insurgents in Ras Lanuf and Bin Jawad. But he actually believes that he's going to win this. He doesn't realize that even if he wins, he loses. He's not going to win. Libyans will not have him anymore, and they will get rid of him. You know, you will not see, the odd thing that here we're talking three of us, you're not seeing too much difference in our own perception of things. We seem to agree on one thing about what to be taken against Gaddafi. I do not think you will find a single person in the world who will say the opposite.
Ibrahim Jibril, do you agree? Do you feel that all the pressure that has been mounting on Muammar Gaddafi is beginning to show? His assets have been frozen by the US. There have been measures taken by the UN Security Council to impose a travel ban. The case of his referral to the ICC. Is there any indication that he is feeling the pressure?
Yeah, but before I go there, just very quickly, just a minor correction. The fires and so on that we saw were not actually weapons depots. These are fuel tanks. And they are in Sidra, they're not in Ras Lanuf. So this is what we're seeing. And I think that part of that, I think that Gaddafi has so far, and this is getting back to your question, he has been playing several cards. He has played the Islamist card, he has played the Qaeda card, he has played every card possible. Now he is playing the illegal migration card, and lastly the security of Israel card. And the last one is the environmental card. And I think that what he is saying is there is an environmental disaster on hand. And what you see now, this smoke bellowing out of Sidra, that can be just an indication of what happens. As to the pressure issue that you asked about, I think he is under extreme pressures. And I think that you see the desperation in his voice, in his words, and in his actions. The fact that he is resorting now in an Arab world, in a Muslim world, to say that the security of Israel depends on my remaining in my position, this is as low as it gets in this region. And this is what he has resorted to, lastly.
Your thoughts on this, Henry Schuler. Do you think there's a lot of pressure being felt right now by the leadership in Tripoli? And to what extent do you feel that bringing the case of the ICC against him now and the possibility of a military action being taken on the ground, to what extent would this play into the hands precisely of groups like al-Qaeda and its affiliates, those who believe that here is yet another example of a Muslim Arab leader being prosecuted?
I think it's very important to realize that the true believers in Islam in Libya recognized long ago that Muammar Gaddafi is virtually a heretic. He has arrogated unto himself the role of spiritual leader of the Libyan people through his Green Book nonsense. He has changed the Islamic calendar, a tradition that went back forever, to change it to start with the death of the Prophet, not with the Jazeera. That sort of thing, and he has denounced the Sunnah as being a valid view of what the Prophet meant in his sayings.
But so do you think that he may use the actions now taken against him to rally support among those people who believe that he does somehow represent nationalistic ideals?
I don't believe he has a chance of doing that. He's too exposed. He's too vulnerable. This is too. This revolt against him rose up among the Libyan people, and it's not the first time. It's just the most successful so far. The forces of democracy and true Islam will triumph over Gaddafi. I have no doubt.
Mansour el-Kikhia, what do you make, and there you are in the United States, what do you make precisely of the position of the Bush administration, now the Obama administration? After all, Gaddafi's regime did not become brutal with its people overnight, yet he had drawn American praise for fighting extremism. There's a cable that was released recently by WikiLeaks, 2008, it is dated. It's called "The Libyan Leader, a Strong Partner in the War Against Terrorism," noting the excellent intelligence cooperation. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, Mr. Schuler, Henry Schuler, and I once attended an Atlantic Council meeting in which Bouzid Douda spoke. And Mr. Schuler remembers I burnt the regime, telling them the human rights abuses, the atrocities they've committed, and all that. But that didn't seem to work very well with the Bush administration. I hope it works better with the Obama administration. I hope with the Obama administration, I think he's a sensible man. And I know there's some pressure on him not to involve himself in Libya. But I think Henry was quite right, that there are many things that can be done that can actually undermine Gaddafi's position and rule. And I do think honestly, and again, I disagree with Ali in this point, that I do think that Gaddafi believed that he's winning. This is the big problem. He actually believed that he's making it, he's winning, that all of his nonsense about Islamists, about the support of Israel, about whatever it is doing, is getting to people. But it's not. People they know him. They know him for what he is. They've seen him lie on television, saying that my people love me and they're willing to die for me. Yes, he's killing them. So I don't think any of that's going to work.
Ibrahim
the
Jibril,
Obama administration needs to realize this.
Ibrahim Jibril, do you agree with this point? Do you
please,
think
go
that
ahead,
he
I'm sorry.
feels that he is in fact winning militarily on the ground? Are these reports, these rumors that he was likely to step down within a couple of days in exchange for evading Libyan prosecution, can there be any credence to them knowing the man that he is, the fact that he's clung on to power for more than 40 years? Or is it simply part of a psychological operation to undermine the resolve of his own followers?
Well, I don't think that he is winning militarily. I don't think that bombarding 2 cities in a country the size of Libya is winning. I don't think that not having control over 85% of the country and operating within 15% of it is winning militarily. I don't think that bombarding the same group of people in the same city over and over and over and over is necessarily winning. So I don't think that he is winning. And he is also not winning the psychological war. So he's not winning on any account. This is a time game in which he is losing. And I think that every day that goes by, he loses further down. He loses militarily and he loses psychologically. Now he is looking for any way out. The important thing is he is not going to get a get out of jail free card. He is going to be held accountable for the atrocities that he's committed in Libya and outside of Libya. And the Libyan people want to make sure that he stands trial, that justice takes place, much more than he has afforded the Libyan people that he has massacred over the years.
So how would most Libyans then feel if the Transitional Council now makes a deal with Muammar Gaddafi, and if he does evade prosecution? How effective, how representative, how authoritative and legitimate would they be?
The Transitional Council made it clear. They said perhaps, they said maybe we will consider. They did not say we will give, we will do. This is number one. Number two, this decision is not a decision lightly made, and it's not going to be made by any council, be it the Transitional Council or anybody else, simply because this particular decision belongs to every single person within the country of Libya. He has touched every family in Libya. He has massacred or inflicted pain on every family in Libya, and every family has the right then to have a say in terms of should he get out of jail free or should he be held accountable. And I think this is happening now, and this dialogue is going on in Libya, and people are starting to talk about it.
Henry Schuller, based on your knowledge of the country and your close and intimate knowledge of the way influential Western capitals such as Washington operate, how do you see this ending? It's difficult to predict with every passing day, but it appears to be that the man, despite his idiosyncrasies, and I sat with him for a lengthy interview a year and a half ago, and back then as now, he has been saying that he has no position to step down from. This is Jamahiriya, it is people power. Do you feel that anything he said in the last couple of days suggests any kind of change in his rhetoric? Will he have to step down? What will it take?
No, I think all of that of not having any responsibility is errant nonsense. And I think that the most tragic situation that has developed is that the United States and Britain have allowed Musa Kusa. I have in my hands Musa Kusa's dissertation on the political leader and his social background, Muammar Gaddafi, the Libyan leader. And I've read it. It's not badly written, but it's very clear that Musa Kusa is a die-hard Gaddafi loyalist. And for some reason, he has managed to peddle his credentials as somebody who the United States and Britain should deal with. And with a lot of smoke and mirrors, he has pretended that Libya is cooperating on terrorism, counterterrorism, because he knew all the terrorists in the world, and so he convinced the U.S. government back during the Bush administration that he would turn that information over. Well, surprise, surprise, he turned over all of Gaddafi's opposition, the names of his opposition, who had nothing whatsoever to do with al-Qaeda.
Much more to discuss. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have on this edition. I want to thank all of my guests, Mansour el-Kikhia in Texas, Henry Schuler in Washington, and Ibrahim Jibril here in Doha. And thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your suggestions and comments. You can email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. From all of us for now, thanks for watching.